Oh boy, Giants fans, we have a lot to discuss, so buckle up. Welcome back to the Empire State Sports Report. I'm your host, Adrianna, also known as New York Giants fangirl on social. Make sure you're following along on Instagram and TikTok. Those are the places where I get the news out first. If you want to know everything about the New York Giants 24/7, it's on there. The podcast is brought to you by Believe Network and FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel Sportsbook is the number one place to make all of your sports bets. Whether it's NFL, college football, NBA, you name it, FanDuel has it. Make sure to always bet responsibly. Okay, we have a couple things to discuss before we get into the Giants-Bears preview, and I want to start with this. Speaking of betting, Graham Gano came out and said to the media that he has received death threats from people. And the first thing I want to say is, if that is you, I really encourage you to seek mental health. And I'm not being condescending. I understand that as fans, we are angry and frustrated with this football team. But if you lost a bet because Graham Gano missed a field goal, and your way to make yourself feel better is to send a grown man who is a husband, a father, a football player, which is just his job. At the end of the day, it's just his job. If you are sending him death threats, I need you to understand that that is not normal behavior. It's not okay. Please, please find a therapist, because like I said, I understand people's frustration. I've screamed on this podcast. I've probably cried on this podcast. We have been through it together. I know we are suffering. This is we are going 7 on 8 years where we have started the season 2-7. I understand people are frustrated. I get it. And we are really upset that we feel like not only does this team sucks, but there's roster mismanagement issues, there's coaching issues, there's a plethora of issues. I am begging you not to do things like that. You want to be upset, that's fine. Scream in the comfort of your house, throw a pillow against the wall, go to the gym and work it out. Sending messages like that are not okay. I do not condone it, and anyone who condones it also needs to seek mental health, because it's not normal, okay? I think people are also misdirecting their anger here. Not every kicker in the NFL or linebacker or quarterback, no one is ever perfect. Graham Gano is going to miss a kick. We've known, we've seen it. The frustration should be with the fact that we are watching the same mistakes happen week after week, and it seems like the people who are in charge of fixing it are not fixing it. So, again, the frustration should be with Graham Gano's contract and the fact that the front office decided to retain him after he has been injured more often than he has played in the last 2 years. Unacceptable behavior. They could have brought in kickers this summer. Unacceptable behavior that they didn't. They could have kicking competitions with someone who's not a backup kicker who got demoted from Rutgers. There are options here. The Giants have refused to take them. So again, I understand the frustration we are all having. I am in it with you. This is my job. I get paid to do this. And I don't want to come on here and be upset and screaming about how much I hate this team because they suck every week. Like, I want to come on here and talk about the fact that we should be heading towards the playoffs, that we should have a top 5 defense in the league, that we have a rookie quarterback who's playing unbelievably and he's doing it without Scadaboo and Neighbors. Like, I want to talk about that. I don't want to sit here and have to go through, here we go again. We're playing against the Bears and we've got an injured kicker and we lost our 2 best players to injuries, and this, that, and the other thing is what's wrong. Like, we all know we're in it. So anyway, we are going to turn this ship around, but I really wanted to address that because it's really, really upsetting to me that people take time out of their day to do that. It's not healthy and it's not normal. So something else I want to discuss, because this has also been a very hot topic on social media, where unfortunately I live a big portion of my life, is the whole situation with Nikki G. I'm sure that you guys know her, and Sean Marash and WFAN. I like Sean Marash. He's been on the pod before. He's a cool guy. I don't know what the disconnect was, why he didn't credit Nikki for the initial report, but this is what happened. Nikki reported on Twitter that she's got some good sources that are close to the building and have good relationships, that right after the Denver game, Daboll was pretty much fired. John Mara had made up his mind. He was done with him after that collapse, and he was over it, and he was going to fire him when they got home, or when the team got back to New Jersey. And then Chris Mara got involved and said, no, you need to be level-headed about this, and that's why Daboll wasn't fired. Now, like we say with a lot of these reports, and I'm not saying that I don't trust Nikki, because I do, but I think that sometimes things get lost in translation through the sources. I think sometimes stuff happens, right? I would 100% believe that that was the case. And people who don't want to believe that that is the case, I find very interesting, because if you followed the Giants' history and paid attention to John Mara's pressers and the things that he says and his actions, you would not be surprised to hear that he's impulsive and want to go ahead and fire Daboll immediately after the game. We've seen him do things like this before, so that's not out of the realm of possibility. What also is not out of the realm of possibility is that Chris Mara is getting involved in calling those shots and maybe talking John Mara back down to earth. I don't know why anyone would ever be surprised by either of those two things happening. So again, people can believe what they want, but if you pay attention to what has gone on over the years, neither of those things would be remotely surprising to me. Now, the reality is they didn't fire Daboll, and no one really knows why. They had another collapse the following week. For all we know, John Mara and Brian Daboll have sat down, and Brian Daboll has said, look at my offense and look at my quarterback. Look at everything that I'm doing on offense. We should be winning games. We need to get a couple guys healthy. I'm going to talk with Shane Bowen. We're going to be more aggressive. No one knows the conversations that are going on in that building, but it would not surprise me for 1 second if Brian Daboll is in there on Monday on Mara's office selling his ass off that this is how they're going to fix things. He literally said this in a press conference this week. He said that he has the faith and confidence in his players that they're going to get it right and they're going to turn it around. Now, you don't have to believe him. I most certainly don't believe him. I don't know whether or not John Mara believes him, but I am most certain that these conversations are probably happening on a regular basis, which is why Daboll says the things that he does to the media, just like what he said earlier this week, that they're going to turn it around. So anyway, obviously he's not fired. I still, for the life of me, do not know why Shane Bowen is the defensive coordinator on this team. I hear this a lot from people. Why isn't he fired? I don't know. My biggest guess, I have two guesses. The first one is that Daboll wants a scapegoat and is going to say, well, we gave him all of this talent. I don't know why he can't fix it. And at the end of the season, he can say, well, look what I did with the offense. We were number, XYZ in all these different categories. And we had a rookie quarterback who did it without Malik Neighbors, who did it without Cam Scatterbo. We had all of these issues and the offense still put up points. It's not my fault the defense couldn't do anything. Let me get a new defensive coordinator. Let me try and turn this thing around. I would bet my house on this is what Daboll is saying to John Mara. The second issue, and I think this is one of the other reasons why he has not been fired yet, is that the best option that I believe that they have to promote to the defensive coordinator if they fired Shane Bowen is Andre Patterson, who is the defensive line coach who Dexter Lawrence raves about and supposedly is very well loved in the building and by the players. Now, the thing is, he has no experience as a defensive play caller. So the thought process could be, well, okay, we could fire Shane Bowen and we could promote Andre Patterson, but if he has no experience calling plays, then why is he going to be any better than Shane Bowen? So I can absolutely see that also being another argument here. So look, at the end of the day, we're never really going to fully know what goes on inside that building. We got glimpses of it during Hard Knocks, and it was not pretty, to say the least. And I don't really think that it's gotten all that much better since then. So again, we'll see how things go on. Obviously, there is, I keep forgetting about this, but there is going to be an in-season Hard Knocks, and the Giants are going to be on it, which it sounds like they probably won't be on it much considering they stink and are 2-7, but you never know. Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo could change that depending on how much they filmed early on in the year. So we'll see as Hard Knocks goes on. I feel like there was, all right. Now let's talk about the kicker situation. We're going to talk about injuries and then preview Giants versus Bears. So the first thing is the injuries. So Graham Gano, and I talked about this on Instagram. So for those of you who haven't seen it yet, Graham Gano did not practice Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week. It was reported that he was dealing with a neck injury, and everyone is like, well, how do you get a neck injury as a kicker? Well, according to Graham Gano, this is what happened. Last week, he felt some discomfort in his neck. He felt okay on Sunday, played Sunday, obviously missed that field goal, which is potentially why he was so defensive in his in his press conference afterwards because he didn't want to admit that he wasn't feeling well. I don't know. On Monday, supposedly while he was lifting, he felt something. He felt discomfort again in his neck, but this time it was worse than what he had felt last week. Turns out he has a herniated disc, so he got a spinal injection to, I guess, help with pain and inflammation. I'm not a doctor. They didn't clarify what it was for, but I have to assume that those are two of the things that they would have done it for. When Gano spoke to the media on Thursday and basically told them about this, he said, he was still hopeful that he was going to play on Sunday. And all I have to say is I am glad that this is not a conversation anymore because Graham Gano is injured. He did not practice for 3 days, so it should have never even been a conversation. I understand he's a player. He's competitive. He wants to play. But the reality is you didn't practice all week and you got a spinal injection. So I don't really think that you should be getting on a plane to Chicago where it's potentially going to snow on Sunday and be a kicker. So anyway, the Giants finally potentially did the right thing. And Younghoe Koo spoke to the media, and Daboll said on Friday today that he's assuming, I have my hands in quotes for those of you listening, that Younghoe Koo is going to be the kicker, but they have not decided yet. And Dan Duggan brings up a good point, and it's this, is that Daboll tries to always do and say the same thing. So every Friday before practice, he says, we're going to see how practice goes before we make those final injury designations. We're going to see how they do in practice. It's always about what happens in practice Friday, as if some miraculous thing is going to change their injury designation if they didn't practice all week. And now Friday, they're like, Terminator out there. So anyway, Younghoe Koo is going to be the kicker on Sunday. But there's a tweet from Dan Duggan, who was at practice and said that JMS, Chauncey Golston, Darius Muasau were not spotted at practice. Bo Collins and Paulson and Debo were on the side with trainers. He also said it's safe to rule those 5 players out, which I agree. None of them practiced all week. There's a 0% chance that they're playing. Next up, he has Victor Dimukeje and Graham Gano didn't appear to be participating either, so it looks like they're out. Again, that's likely right. Now, we have some good news here. Jermaine Illuminor, who's dealing with the pec, who did not practice on Wednesday, but was limited Thursday and should be probably limited today. I assume he's going to be listed as questionable. Cordell Flott, who was cleared from the concussion, and Javon Holland with the knee are all trending in the right direction. So having those 3 guys back would be amazing for the matchup against the Bears. So we're going to wait and see what happens there, but I think it's looking pretty good that we get those 3 guys back, which will all be very important. From a Bears perspective, let's talk about some of the players that did not practice and then ended up practicing on Thursday. So on Thursday, DB Josh Blackwell, linebacker TJ Edwards, defensive lineman Dominique Robinson, and offensive lineman Joe Thuney all did not practice. The next batch of players, the majority of them actually did not practice on Wednesday, but were back on Thursday. So I think they're going to be cleared and good to go, which is DB Kevin Byard, running back Roshan Johnson, wide receivers DJ Moore and Romo Dunze. Both of those guys, or 3 out of the 4, again, did not practice Wednesday, limited Friday. Now, the rest of these players were full good to go. Wide receiver Luther Burden, defensive lineman Grady Jarrett, tight end Cole Kmet, running back Kyle Monangi, linebacker Amen. Oh my God. I'm not going to say his last name because it's very long and I'm going to butcher it. And then running back, it's DeAndre Swift. So that's where we're at with the injuries. And now I want to go ahead and talk about some other stats leading into this game that I think will be important. But first up, this podcast is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The Thursday night football game last night, I don't know if you guys watched, but it was pretty awfully boring. So I'm hoping that this Sunday is going to be a lot more entertaining. So let's talk through some prop bets. We have a Sunday morning game at 9:30 in Berlin, Germany. Now, the good news is for Daniel Jones at this time when he's going to Germany, hopefully he's going to have a better experience. And he's playing in Berlin versus Munich. And I was at the Munich game, and all I have to say is for Daniel's sake, I hope that he plays a lot better in Berlin. Now, the Colts are the obvious favorite here after getting Sauce Gardner, who cleared concussion protocol and is going to be good to go. But they did just lose a big-time defensive lineman who is going to be on IR for a few weeks. So we'll see how they can deal with that. But the Colts take on the Falcons. The Colts are obviously the favorite, minus 310, and the Falcons are plus 250. Jonathan Taylor, of course, is the favorite to score a touchdown, minus 320. And Bijan Robinson is the second favorite at minus 135. Drake London, who had 3 touchdowns in the last game, is plus 135. And if they weren't playing the Colts and Sauce Gardner, I would probably think about taking that one. But This week, I'm probably going to go heavy on the Colts here. So all of those bets can be made in FanDuel Sportsbook. They have boosts, they have parlays, everything that you want to do to be able to bet, you can find on FanDuel Sportsbook. Download the app today and always bet responsibly. Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk through some stats because I have some here that I think are going to be interesting to you guys. So, starting with this, did you know that Wan'Dale Robinson has the most yards in the slot and he has 90 more than Amon-Ra, who is next, which is very hard to believe, but that is a true statistic for you. So, Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be heavily involved this week. He should be. He's, I think, one of the more reliable wide receivers on this team. So looking for a big game out of Wan'Dale and hope that he can really step up. And we talk about this every week after losing Malik Neighbors and even having Darius Liam back. Like someone has to step up. So I think from a wide receiver perspective, it's going to be Wan'Dale Robinson. From a tight end perspective, it's going to be Daniel Bellinger because he's healthy, seems to be good to go with that neck injury that he was also dealing with. And, you know, I like Theo Johnson. I do. And he seems to only be reliable when it comes to catching a touchdown, which I'll take. We need that. But we also need someone who's going to be reliable on third down and to help move the chains. And unfortunately, that has not been Theo Johnson. It is going to be Daniel Bellinger. I expect to see more of him involved this week. So talking through their total defensive stats, the Bears are ranked 26th and the Giants are ranked 29th. And every time I see the stats like that, it just shatters my heart a little bit because I just feel like we have so much more talent than what we're seeing on Sundays. And it's just it's so depressing. From a passing defense, the Giants are ranked 24th with allowing 15 touchdowns and 232 yards per game. And the Bears are 25th, allowing 20 touchdowns, 237.6 yards per game. Now, the Giants and the Bears across the board are relatively close in their statistics. So I think this could be an interesting and actually a good matchup in a lot of different instances. So this is where I think that the tight ends are going to be involved because I think you can't fully rely on some of your wide receivers, especially if it's snowing. Like, look, I really like Darius Slayton, but the reality is he has not been very productive this year. And I just think you cannot rely on him to be your number one wide receiver where there's potentially snow, you know, even though you're going against a defense who's gave up 20 touchdowns so far in the passing game. Like if they do that, it's probably going to be to Daniel Bellinger and Theo Johnson, which at this point, I don't care who it is, someone score touchdowns, which leads me next to the run defense. The Bears are ranked 25th, allowing 131 yards and only 6 touchdowns. The Giants on the other side are ranked 31st, allowing 150 yards and 12 touchdowns. What I think is so interesting here is between 25th and 31st, there's less than a 20-yard differential average per game, which is very interesting. Kind of thought that it would have been more than that. But what I will say is this, is if you have DeAndre Swift or if you manage to pick up Kyle Monangi, this is the week to play them. The Giants have given up double the amount of touchdowns in the run game than the Bears have. So as much as I want to think that Jackson Dart might score a touchdown this week, a rushing touchdown, it is very possible, but I think it could be a little less likely, obviously, than Monangi or Swift scoring. Speaking of scoring, let's talk about the scoring defense. Again, these teams are neck and neck here. The Giants are 28th in scoring defense. They're allowing 27.7 points per game and 28 touchdowns, where the Bears are one slot behind them, ranked 29th. They're allowing 28.4 points per game and 27 touchdowns. So again, neck and neck in general. They're allowing a lot of touchdowns. So that's probably the most important. Next up, we have the red zone defensive stats. The Bears are 20th at stopping in the red zone with a 62.1% rate. The Giants are a lot worse. The Giants are ranked 30th with an 80% rate. They're allowing 80% of other teams in the red zone to score. So Colston Loveland, who had 2 touchdowns last week, I think is also going to have a good week, knowing that not only can we never be able to stop a tight end between him and Kmet and our passing and red zone defense, they're probably going to be just fine. Next up, let's talk about third down conversion, third down stoppage rate from the defense. The Bears are ranked 5th. The best category of everything that they are ranked at in defense is third down defense. They are stopping other teams 34% of the time. And the Giants are 17th at 38.9% of the time. You know what's crazy to me is that it actually feels a lot higher than that, because the amount of third and longs that I have watched this year, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 17, 3rd and 20, 3rd and 19, like, and they almost always get converted. So honestly, less than 40% is not as horrible as I would have thought. All right, moving along to the offense here. The Bears, are you ready for this? Their offense is just a little bit better than ours. They are ranked third in the NFL with 378 yards per game and 23 touchdowns. Listen to this. Okay, so they're ranked third with 23 touchdowns. The Giants have 24 touchdowns and are ranked 18th with 322 yards per game, which is about a 55-point difference between the Bears, 3rd and 17th. Crazy. Next up, we have the passing offense. The Bears are ranked 10th. They have averaged 234 yards per game and 13 passing touchdowns on the season. The Giants also have 13 passing touchdowns on the season. They are ranked 19th with only 204 yards passing. So I want to highlight this for a second, because we're getting Cordell Flott and Javon Holland back, which obviously is going to help instead of seeing Corey Black and Tay Banks out there. But we are still dealing with a team that is not good in the passing game. The Giants defense is ranked 24th, allowing 15 touchdowns and 232 yards per game, while the Bears offense has 13 passing touchdowns. So, I think that's going to be something to watch, is how do their wide receivers match up against our corners? I think it's going to be tough. But like I said, Cordell Flott being back is life-changing for, all of us who are going to put ourselves through sitting and watching the 60-minute game. Next up, let's talk about the running offense. The Bears are ranked number 2. They are ranked number 2. Their running offense, their rushing offense. So against our 31st ranked defense. So that's a good matchup. They're averaging 144 yards per game on the ground. That's only on the ground. And they have 9 touchdowns. But what I think is really interesting are the Bills and the Colts have more rushing touchdowns than them, but the Bills are ranked number 1 in rushing offense, and the Colts were ranked closer to 10. The Giants, on the other hand, are ranked 14th with 118 rushing yards per game, and they have 11 rushing touchdowns, which is more than the Bears. But I think we all know, like when Cam Scatterbo had 3 red zone rushing touchdowns that were basically a yard, that helps us out, right? Helps those stats. Next up, let's talk about the scoring offense, because that, yet again, there is a big differential here. The Bears are ranked number 6th with 26.9 points they're averaging per game, and they have 23 total touchdowns. And the Giants, 24 touchdowns. Again, some things are very close, but others not so much. They are ranked 22nd overall to the Bears 6th, and they are averaging 21.9 points per game, which I want to highlight this again for a second, because so many of us talked about going into this season was one of the biggest issues, obviously, that we had last year was that we could not score touchdowns. We were averaging 10 points a game, which is insanity in the NFL. Now we are averaging more than double that, and we are still not winning football games. The biggest concern that so many of us had was going to be this offense. They brought back 10 of 11 starters. Is Russ Wilson going to be a good Russ Wilson or the bad Russ Wilson we've seen in the past? Now they put in Jackson Dart running a very functional offense. And yet we are still 2-7. The frustration, it's there. Let me tell you. All right, next up, I want to talk about the red zone offense, because this is actually very, very close. So we've got the Bears. They are ranked 25th with a 51.7% conversion rate in the red zone. And the Giants are right behind them, number 26, with only 15% conversion rate in the red zone. So I think that is probably going to be also a really good matchup. So let's go back to the Bears red zone defense. So the Bears red zone D is ranked 20th. They have a 62.1% rate of stopping their opponents in the red zone. And their success rate is is only 51% of the time, which means that if the Giants' red zone defense steps up and can hold them to field goals, maybe we can win this game. Then next up, you have the Giants offense, who's 50% of the time scores in the red zone. And the Giants' red zone defense is ranked 30th with an 80% rate. So again, very interesting matchups there. I think ultimately it's going to be a close game. The last stat that I want to pull up for you guys here is the third down conversion rate on offense. So the Bears are tied with the Patriots in 8th overall with a 42.9% conversion rate on third down. And the Giants are 13th overall with a 40% conversion rate. So we need guys this week to step up on third down. I think that's going to be one of the key reasons as to why we win this football game is third down conversions. Go to the tight ends, aka Daniel Bellinger, who's going to be a reliable pass catcher. I really want to see them be able to do that successfully. And I think that's really going to help them be able to win the game. Also, the Bears defense is much better at the hold on, excuse me. I was reading the running offense for a second. I was like, wait a minute. So the Bears are ranked 25th overall between passing defense and run defense. The only difference is the Bears have given up 20 touchdowns from a passing defensive perspective versus 6 touchdowns in the run defense. So like I said, I would love to see Jackson Dart score a rushing touchdown here, but I think the reality based on the statistical numbers here is that they're going to have to be able to pass the ball in the red zone, and that's how they're going to be able to score. So again, players have to step up here. Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, I don't know, is he going to be active this week now that the trade deadline is over? Who knows? Bo Collins is injured, so we're not going to see him. We're probably going to see a bit more of Ray McLeod, maybe even little Jordan Humphrey if Jalen Hyatt's inactive. And then Daniel Bellinger and Theo Johnson. We might even see a little bit of Thomas Fidone. Whoever is on the field, you just have to make plays for your quarterback. Ultimately, it's that simple, whether it's offense or defense. But again, against this passing and run defense that is not very good, you have to be able to take advantage of that. So I just want to see a good game plan. I want to see the Giants be able to do this. And one more thing that I wanted to say is this is an awesome stat from the New York Giants that Jackson Dart has set a single season franchise record so far with 5 games with 1 passing touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown. He is the 3rd rookie in the Giants organization all time. That means 100 years who has done that. So again, you would think he's doing all this stuff, we'd probably be a lot better than 2-7, but that's where we're at. Unfortunately, we are Giants fans and this is what we have to suffer through, but there's always next year, right? Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. I'm going to be live streaming the game on Sunday, live on assist.com. So make sure you join me. I will post the link on Instagram, TikTok, everywhere so you guys can join and we can hopefully cheer together and hopefully not be sad and commiserate together. But either way, I'm there for you guys. I feel your struggles. I'm right there with you. And let's hope that they can pull out a win in Chi-Town. Go Giants. Be back next week with a recap.